What is good, people? Hope you're all doing well. Hello, Zane.
Hello, Jake. Yo, 2 days back to back. We don't do this too often.
Shoot. Yeah, you guys are unaware of the podcast. We actually recorded Respawn Recap together this week as well. So how you doing, Zane? Let's hop into this after we discuss how you doing.
Yeah, well, things are good. Things are good. How are you doing, Jake? How are you today?
I feel like we bounced back this week. You know, we've had a lot of great weeks on the channel. Obviously, huge thanks to all of you guys.
Yeah, shout out.
As per usual, craziness does continue, and we're here to break it down for all of you guys. So you want to hit this off?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's
Shall
do
we?
it.
Let's roll. All right, Zan. You know, me and you, we talk a lot about the streaming wars.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a big deal when I bring a list on. Usually,
Ooh, I'm ready.
I like to memorize things because I feel like it makes me feel smarter. It also makes me talk a lot faster. So
Now, is this like a top 10? Is this like, are we doing some Watch Mojo type beat stuff or like what?
No, it's going to be a very interesting point because we talk about streamer wars. You know, actually this past week we talked about energy drink wars. I wanted to paint a picture for everyone out there when it comes time for Twitch versus YouTube versus Mixer. What I wanted to call this was Twitch got everyone and YouTube got the rest. And so I'm going to lay out a list for you really quick. And of course, I want your 2 cents on this. And I know we really beat the dead horse when it comes time for what Mixer can do, but we're approaching a big video on the channel, which I want to talk about Mixer and how they maybe potentially failed these guys. And it could be vice versa with a lot of opinions out there. So let me read you off a list. I know I'm missing some streamers out there, but in the past, I would say about 6 months. And again, give me some room there, guys. I am missing a few names. We have Twitch re-signing or signing Nick A30, Nick Merckx, Lyric, Tim the Tatman, Dr. Lupo, Dr. Disrespect,
Heavy hitters,
Dakotas, Josh OG, Pokimane, and Summit 1G being the recent ones in the killers.
Yeah. That's 10 very solid names.
10 very solid names.
Yeah.
And I know we're missing some, and Twitch loves to actually re-sign or sign people, keep it under wraps, and then announce them all within, you know, a few days or with all in the same time. A few of those were actually announced 3 at a time to be really, really heavy hitters.
Yeah, hit that media presentation like on all fronts.
Very smart.
Yes.
YouTube alone, over the past 6 to 8 months, they got Courage. They got Valkyrie. They got Deller, Muselk, Laserbeam, tons of Fortnite creators and Spanish creators you guys maybe not know about. They got the Overwatch League and the Call of Duty League, hopefully going to figure out drops with those as well. Call of Duty League drops actually already working. And not to mention, they also re-signed PewDiePie in the past few weeks. We compare that to Mixer, who got Ninja, they got Shroud, they got Goth, and Ewok. I think Goth, last time I checked, barely breaking 1,500 viewers. Ewok, she does stream a bit.
Occasionally.
But not even close to those numbers of other guys. And you keep in mind, that was actually, we're approaching the year anniversary slowly of Ninja. I think we're right around the 8-9 month mark, and then Shroud 2 months after that. It hasn't been long, but when you really kind of listed out what these other platforms have done to achieve, that's not even talking about Twitch policies and other things they've added to their website to make it more functional for their own streamers and beneficial. I know I don't have too much to bounce off you, but just give me your general thoughts if you could.
Well, I think we discussed this briefly off camera yesterday, where you can kind of see the different approach each platform is taking to their roster of creators and exclusivity deals in just that list alone, right? With Twitch, it's very personality driven across the board. You're going to see Twitch signing with exclusive creators day and night because realistically speaking, if you want to be a huge top tier Twitch person, there's a good to fair chance, or streaming person rather, there's a good to fair chance you're on Twitch. Twitch is almost synonymous with that nowadays. YouTube, on the other hand, has picked up a lot of the more mid-tier, in terms of like size, just, you know, in comparison, streamers and personalities, as well as some huge events like Overwatch League and Call of Duty League. I think YouTube might be going more that direction more than the creator route because, you know, every Twitch creator, there's a good to fair chance they're going to have a YouTube channel as well for VODs and such.
Yep.
And, you know, most YouTube people, if they want to stream, there's a good to fair chance they're going to be on Twitch, you know, because that's just how that works. And Mixer is kind of just over there to the side, chilling, and I don't think we're going to see any more pickups from them because none of them have really panned out. I mean, Ninja and Shroud, they stream consistently, and even then their numbers have yet to really break even 20,000 consistently, you know, and that's, I mean, that's not to hate on Mixer. It's an excellent platform in many ways, but I think when you just look at a list like that, it just says volumes in terms of who is signing with where and what kind of money is being thrown around.
Yeah, and it really shows a lot of what those platforms are possibly willing to do. Of course, we don't know what Microsoft or Mixer are really telling Ninja and Shroud, what their future plans are. We recently found out when it comes time for PR for both Shroud and Ninja and for Mixer, those plans have been put to halt because of coronavirus and pandemic. But I kind of just want to write a list out for you guys to really see, the counteract of when Mixer did all of this. These platforms, they counteracted, they answered. And we have yet to see a bounce back after they counteracted, right? They've continued to actually make these signings. They have responded time and time again to what Mixer did initially. And ever since Mixer has made their initial moves, they have not counteracted the counteraction, if that's a fair way to put it.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think this was always going to be a David and Goliath fight with Mixer being David going up the giant that is YouTube and or Twitch. And unfortunately, in this case, David just doesn't have a slingshot to fight back with.
Yeah, and we're going to keep on waiting to see if that slingshot is actually signed in the future. At this point, though, we're slowly reaching a point where there's not going to be anyone left that's actually, going to make the difference to be signed. So we'll keep on keeping you guys posted on this. Just wanted to paint the picture out there. Mixer is still in the fight. How much longer?
All right, Jake, we've discussed Overwatch League quite a bit in the past couple weeks because I think that is one of both the Overwatch League and the Call of Duty League are two of the most intriguing franchise scenes in esports at the moment. Not just because of, hey, the matches can be pretty good, but because of their status and how people are wondering. They're kind of looking to these as proof of whether or not this franchise format can succeed at all. And we've seen issues with both, like we've seen issues in other places as well. And now we have the head coach of the Houston Outlaws coming out and saying that the homestand system needs to fundamentally change in order for Overwatch League to survive.
Dang.
Which is
and this is off the bat. Actually, Nick had a video, in case you guys missed it. It was actually a former GM, I believe, for the Outlaws speaking.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, I saw that too, yeah.
He was talking about the London Spitfire potentially wanting out, and they can't find buyers. Kind of to relate Houston Outlaws in the news a couple of times.
Yeah,
but this is definitely an interesting one. So did he share details on exactly what he wanted?
Yeah, he kind of spoke briefly, broadly about it. Of course, he doesn't have like a definitive, like, this is what we need to do in order to fix everything. But he kind of came to a point where he was like, okay, homestands take a lot of travel, and they depend on people selling out stadiums in order to really recoup those costs, both for the teams and for the people hosting them.
Super strenuous. That's got to be stressful.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've seen homestands sell out. I mean, we've seen stadiums fill up with 4,000 plus people, but you can't have that every single weekend.
Yeah.
And
to your point really quickly, because we see ESL Cologne for Counter-Strike, right? They're known for it. You got the MLGs, DreamHacks, Star Ladders. Yes, they can fill stands far beyond 4,000, but when it comes time, those are big, big events. And to your point, they're not every weekend events.
Yeah, of course.
Just to clarify.
There's usually a build up to those events.
Yeah,
and he's kind of pitching something similar where he says maybe a homestand should be reserved for the playoffs and beyond. Because that's always going to be hype. Those are going to be the best matches. Those are probably going to be the most interesting matchups, and you can really build a storyline around that a lot easier as opposed to just week to week flying people all over the place. I mean, we already saw so many people drop from the Overwatch scene, more pros than we've seen in any other esports scene just leave.
Yeah.
Because they were just it's just the travel's a lot. It's strenuous, the game changes too much, all this additional stress that keeps piling on. And I think Harsha has a good point. Homestands don't really seem like the best fit for esports.
This is a tough one. I'll try and keep my points brief because I got a couple I want to make.
Of course.
The first of which, with this pandemic, homestands obviously very poorly timed. A lot of them moved online. We see with the Huntsmen alone, NRG Chicago Huntsmen, that's their Call of Duty roster. They sold out, I believe, over 7,000 tickets. Hector's done a great job with that team. All in all, after paying for the venue, if they got the money back, hopefully, that might have been $1 million loss for the Huntsmen.
Yeah.
Loss of opportunity, right? They could have made $1 million, and that's no longer. To jump off that, if you guys have ever been to LEC or LCS studios, they do a great job in the fact that there aren't thousands of seats. There's maybe a couple hundred at most.
Yeah, very limited, very tightly knit communities are the ones that attend.
I had the pleasure of going to one with a couple of my buddies, but right before the pandemic hit, it was super cool atmosphere. And it really does make you want to debate, is the homestand, because obviously homestand models are based off, week in, week out. That's what traditional sports do. They're able to sell out big stadiums every single week. So did esports maybe jump to that conclusion a bit too soon? That'd be my last point to make.
And I think that's a fair statement. I mean, esports has grown enormously in the past several years. I mean, we just became $1 billion industry recently.
But we're built online.
Yeah, we're built online, and we're built off of, I mean, we're still building the infrastructure now.
Yeah.
We don't have to go to weekly events quite yet at that same scale.
And I think there's something to be said when it comes time for, yes, esports, are they sports? Leave it up to yourself. There's more of an entertainment aspect when maybe going to a football game or NBA game as compared to watching guys play on a computer. And maybe this is, again, we will see how leagues develop based off OWL and CDL and other leagues as well. You know, is this going to be an in-person thing? Do we need to have it changed? Can we never have these week in, week out events? I don't know if there's an answer for that right now, but I think it would be a fair statement to say maybe we just jumped a bit too soon. And so we'll see how leagues adapt.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good general statement for esports overall.
Yeah.
We jumped in too soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're growing, though. We're still growing.
Yeah, making progress.
We'll just see if we can, keep up with that growth, and we'll see how events adapt as that growth continues. All right, we can keep this one short and brief. I think it's genius what the LCS, or I guess Riot in general, is doing with League of Legends.
I think I already know what you're talking about.
That being on the Rift, baby. You got some sponsorships in game, baby.
Yo, you want some MasterCards with that pentakill?
You want some credit cards on your map? I actually really do. Yeah. I know we can make jokes about this in case you guys missed it. Riot Games, League of Legends, one of their premier sponsors is actually MasterCard, and they're going to be including a few sponsors, I believe, whichever get approved in the future, on the Rift, on the map. Even cooler, I think, is they've now clarified only the viewers will actually see it.
Yeah, which I very much appreciated. Like, it didn't make any sense to me at all. The players would see it, but you never know until they actually show it to you.
And the last thing you would need is all of a sudden this interferes somehow with the game itself.
Right.
Obviously, it'd be a rarity, but if it does, all of a sudden, let's just throw Dardock out there. He's on the Rift, and all of a sudden, he's like, the MasterCard flag got in my way. You can understand the
like you can't see like the animation of somebody's ult headed your way because the colors are the same as the MasterCard logo.
MasterCard. So it's, that's really cool, and I totally enjoy this. I think that League of Legends is in a league of its own when it comes time for this, because we immediately go to like a Counter-Strike or a Call of Duty, and sponsors have trouble even sponsoring the leagues in general, let alone being on the map where guns are being shot. I think we're probably a bit away from that being
Which is really weird to me, because like of all things, that's something the fighting game community has already figured out. And I wonder, like, how did we figure this out before League of Legends did?
Yeah. And I think I want to say who's the first one? Like GTA. They have I don't even know if it's actually paid for, but they definitely have had brands of some sort in their game. Which
I would imagine it's paid.
Which have made me think about oh my gosh, that's actually very cool. I think they also promote their own parent company. Is it Monster? What's the
parent company of GTA?
I think they have their own Rockstar.
I think that's separate from the energy drink.
It is. Yeah. But I think they actually have pamphlets of some sort in the game that you can see throughout
for sure.
So I think this is actually genius. A great progressive move.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that can help make esports more profitable overall for everyone is a great thing.
And not interfere with the players.
As long as it isn't too intrusive into the viewer experience. Yeah.
Because obviously us viewers, we like to complain about a lot of things. So if they do it in the right way, I don't have an issue with it.
As much as it would suck for like the MasterCard logo to show up and it to get in the way of Dardock seeing an ult, I would hate to be watching a match and be unable to tell what's going on because there's too many ads everywhere.
Yeah, and I guess we'll see now what's the next game to do the same exact thing. League of Legends making progressive moves still forward as sponsorships are now being added into the game itself.
All right, Jake, funny enough, we talked about esports potentially growing a little bit too quickly in recent days, and I actually have a quote from, or not a quote per se, like I'll call it a paraphrase, from Leaston Bryant, I believe is how you pronounce his name.
Who's that?
He's the senior marketing manager of McLaren, the racing car company.
Now I'm with you.
Yeah. So basically, he handles the esports side of things for McLaren. He has been doing it for the past 2 years, roughly. And he says in the past 2 months, he's seen as much growth for esports racing as he's seen in his past 2 years of work.
Dang.
And as much as that's amazing to see, I do think maybe the simulation racing scene has grown too quickly. Because in the past 2 months alone, we've seen so many drivers get fired from high-end companies, lose their sponsors. These are like real racers who will race on real-life racetracks, switch over to esports, and instantly just pull some like nonsense.
You are so right. I don't mean to deter you too much, but in case you guys have missed our stories, and one's going to come out, probably has already come out again, it's our third story. And they don't have the excuse of being 16 years old.
Oh, no.
These are grown men who go from the professional racetrack of some sort into the e-race side of things, and they're dropping N-words.
And they lose their minds.
They're cheating. It's like...
It doesn't make any sense. Like, okay, so in April, we had Kyle Larson who dropped, like, the N-word. Check out our video on that.
I think
it was a little risque.
Bubba.
Yeah, Bubba Wallace.
He rage quitted on Twitch.
Yeah, lost his sponsor.
And then we got Daniel Opt recently. He had a professional esports. Let's go.
Yeah.
He had a professional esports driver fill in for him. And then
Audi came through and was like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
No, you're gone."
And then he tried to be like, it was a joke. Like, we were all in on it.
You know what? After so he had like 2 rebuttals, 2 like excuses, let's say, for why he did what he did. The first one was the one I saw that was like, him saying, "Oh, it was just a joke. We were just messing around." And then I saw like an extended bit of that where he was like, "Yeah, but this race didn't really live up to the standards of a professional Formula E event. I didn't like the way people were driving, and they were like, the game has bugs. So I just felt like, whatever, I'll just get this esports guy in here to do it." And it's like, what are you doing, my guy? Like,
the worst.
You would think that if in this occurrence of all times, like after seeing like back to back, people just get immediately dropped from like very lucrative deals.
Yeah,
they would maybe say, "Hey, maybe let's not mess around with this."
Yeah, maybe we should talk to our drivers, let them know, let's not do these kind of things.
Yeah, let's at least pretend like we're taking it seriously.
Anyway, but back to McLaren, the quote.
Yeah.
Anything else on that
he's
as well?
saying, like, I think that goes to show that, that side of things has grown way quicker than it had any right to or need to, and these events are probably a result of growing pains.
Probably, because I don't even think we can have a comparison, because you have people that are so used to a traditional sport, and all of a sudden they burst onto an already growing esports, e-racing scene and just see...
Yeah, e-racing has been doing pretty decently in recent years, but nowhere near how well it's been doing in the past, 6 months.
Yeah, and we've definitely seen increasing numbers. And with that, I guess... I put it in a video. I was kind of like, even though they are grown adults, I think you still kind of got to get used to the internet or side of things.
Yeah, of course.
It's definitely a different atmosphere. But it just baffles me that they think that filling in like a different driver for yourself, you're going to get away with that. Even if you... Yeah,
somehow.
And then if you don't get away with it, that you're going to paint it as a joke. Like...
Yeah, it sounds like the type of excuse you use in middle school.
Like, dude, imagine you're playing football and you cover up your face and your helmet, and you put a different guy in your place for the team.
Yeah, you just put on
the
you
ref's
say
like, "Take the helmet off, sir," and it's not you, and you're like, "Oh, it's a joke." Like,
just kidding, guys. I was actually here all along in the stands. I'm coming out now.
Like, imagine an esports team having a guy fill in for an event. He's got a hoodie up, with glasses on.
Yeah, you just see him on stream with the mic covering his face, so you can't see him fully, and you're just like,
surprise, it was a joke. I don't know.
It's like, oh, I guess Dardoch got a haircut. I don't know.
I don't know. Dude. I don't know how they get away with these kind of things, but I would agree it's blown up in a good way. And with the blow up, you kind of got to face the repercussions of that, and hopefully they learn.
Yeah, hopefully we don't see another one of these next month, because at the rate we're currently going, we're going to see 5 or 6 more by the end of the year.
And if we do, and if they're good enough, we'll be covering them.
Yeah.
And wow, oh wow, I just realized we've talked a lot about League of Legends in this podcast.
Well, hey, we don't normally, so we've got to balance it out. Hey,
yeah.
Yo, there's a treat for all you League of Legends fans out there.
So we're going to talk very briefly about the high salaries that have been released. As of this past week, we have now confirmed Monte Cristo as well as Hal Biagas. I probably mispronounced that. He's the director for the NALCS Player Association.
Yep.
And he has now confirmed that ever since this past split, we have now... the average LCS salary breaking right around $410,000 per year.
That's a nice chunk of change, Jake. What do you think? What in your mind does that sound about right? Should that be where the average is? Not to mention how it's inflated by some people whose salaries are way higher than they, perhaps should be.
Definitely. I would assume the average is probably closer to 150 to 200, but that's an assumption, right? We don't know how heavily skewed the top 10 players. We got the McSmithy, Double Lift, Hooney. There's a lot of large contracts, record-breaking in the past year or so that skew that number upwards. And I would really be curious. I would love if all the salaries were released, because we're a news outlet. I understand why you shouldn't be releasing those exact numbers, at least in my opinion. To your point, the first thing I thought when this was released is, wow, that is, I don't know if I don't know many players that are worth that amount of money. We've talked about like the simples of the CSGO scenes, maybe like the G2 Pengu. I'm not really sure on R6 salaries. When it comes time for top players like Huni being paid 2.3, who knows what other players, they're making just ridiculous sums of money. It's hard to justify what personalities out there are worth that amount because I'm not in the negotiating room, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, and you got to wonder what kind of returns companies are seeing to justify these huge figures. And I can't imagine they're great because we already heard, like with Huni, for example, with his potential transfer over to Evil Geniuses, that he's definitely, if it actually happens, his salary is definitely decreasing.
Yeah,
100%.
I don't see one person out there who somehow is like Huni's worth 2.3 million.
Right.
Again, props to the guy, though, for being able to negotiate that.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know how you talk your way into it.
He must have a real power suit, red tie, everything.
For me, my main point is this seems unhealthy and very, very scary because all of a sudden we have apparently a lot of top League of Legends players out there who now we know the average for at least the top guys is at least 400K. I feel like we have esports organizations now also, obviously they've known it as well. You feel the need to be forced to pay that because they've been paid it before.
You got to compete with other potential offerings.
I mean, we look at the scaling. Jacob Wolf from ESPN Esports talked about 2016 EULCS European League players 80K average. NA at the time was 100K average. 4 years later, that number has 4x'd. That is ridiculous, and it's concerning because what happens 4 years from now when you're paying what? $700,000, $800,000 a year?
Yeah, I don't think it's sustainable long term. I think we'll see a drastic course correction within the next couple of years. We'll have to.
And the same discussion has been it's been there for Counter-Strike as well, as players are paid increasing amounts. Complexity CEO Jason Lake, I think he offered, it was actually recently in the past year, I believe $1 million for a 2-year contract, and that was with Alexi B, formerly of ENTS, and that was I don't know. It's hard for us because we're not there. We're not a part of the esports organizations. I think it's fair to say, though, that if it continues to scale at this rate, there's going to be a setback, right? And you can't blame the players because they want to cash in. They want to get that check while they can. The limited amount of years you can actually be at the top level, being paid top dollar, of course you're going to fight for that.
Of course.
But at one point or another, the esports orgs have to bite back together to save the scene. You can't fork it up.
I feel like there's a way for everybody to win here. I feel like teams can maybe say, okay, we're going to pay you less, straight up in salary, but maybe we'll negotiate more deals with you, like advertisement deals that go directly to you, that bolster that,
This is, and again, there's definitely arguments for and against it. Call of Duty League has a salary cap for the teams. Maybe that's the future where leagues are like, okay, it's down to the organization. They can pay you $500K max. Anything additionally, they have to work out with you, whether it is sponsorship deals, merch deals. But when it comes time for a straight salary, we're not letting you get paid more than $500K up front because otherwise it just begins to be an unfair war. We can go so many ways with this.
Of course, we could talk about this all day, but
we'll see where it goes in the future. Obviously, League of Legends, the #1 esport in the world. Yes, the #1 paid players in the world. It just seems very, very high. Okay, we hope you all enjoyed the Esports Rewind podcast. Again, thank you all very much. I'll save you 1 second. Thanks to all of you guys who send me DMs and send us stories. You guys are much appreciated. And for all of you guys who subscribe here on YouTube, you guys are the best. Zan, hit him with that fat outro.
All right, as always, everyone, thank you all for tuning in. If you want to check out the Esports Rewind on iTunes, Spotify, your favorite podcast platform of choice, please feel free to check us out as part of the Prediction Esports Talk Show Network. That's PREEDICTION. Shout out to all of our audio listeners. Thank you for tuning in. If you'd like some, daily esports news content in video form, if you get to see Jake's beautiful face as well as our other co-host Nick, check out our YouTube channel at Esports Talk. We're also on Twitter, like Jake said. We really appreciate you guys reaching out and sending us really kind messages, stories, all of the above. So check us out at talk_esports there. We're also on Instagram at esports_talk. Really appreciate y'all. Thank you for all the support in recent days. I think by the time this goes out, we'll be right around the corner from 150,000 subscribers.
You had to say it, dude. You're gonna curse
YouTube.
the channel, bro.
Knock on wood. We're good. We're golden. Plus, I'm looking at the analytics. We're golden.
Thank you all very much for watching.
Thank you.
We will see you guys back here same time, same day next week with the Esports Rewind podcast. Until then, stay safe, gamers.